The EV company launched its long-awaited Robotaxi service in Austin, Texas.
The pitch is that Musk can flip a switch and activate full autonomous remotely.
How will we see the rollout in Austin be picked up by other cities?
This is a $1.5 trillion mobility market in the U.S.
It still feels like there's room to go if you believe in that vision.
All that and more. So let's get to it. Tesla stock is up in the pre-market damn near 2.5%, currently sitting at $357.18. June 22nd, 2025, people, is when Tesla opened up its Robotaxi to the public. Now, granted, it was a limited invite and a limited area with a limited number of cars, but the Tesla Robotaxi is here. For the week, TSLA is up over 9%. Robotaxi provided one hell of a boost to the stock. But remember, we're still down about 8.5% year to date. Is it possible that Robotaxi still has some room to run? Let's see how the legacy media is digesting this new development.
Tesla shares are slightly higher in pre-market trading after the EV company launched its long-awaited Robotaxi service in Austin, Texas on Sunday. The launch, however, was meager, with only a handful of Teslas involved in a geo-fenced area of Austin, with users handpicked by Tesla and a safety monitor in the front passenger seat. Tesla's stock is still down nearly 20% this year and off over 30% from its December highs.
I can see why they have a little bit of animosity toward Tesla and their Robotaxi launch. This video footage, man, talk about being behind the times. They could have at least had some video footage of the Tesla Model Ys with the Robotaxi label on the side. The legacy news media has obviously been left out of the loop when it comes to the unveiling of this legendary product. I wonder why.
Shares of Tesla soaring 10% today after the company launched its Robotaxi service in Austin over the weekend. Our Deirdre Bosa digs into what it means for this increasingly competitive race in autonomous. Hey, Dee.
Hey, good morning, Carl. So Tesla Robotaxis are finally live, but in reality, they're still in demo mode. They only operate during the day in good weather in limited areas with a human driver. Not a human driver, a human monitor riding up front in the passenger seat. Now, that hasn't stopped the stock from surging today. As usual, the promise is doing a lot of work here. But by contrast, Waymo, this is the real non-theoretical autonomous leader for now. It was last valued at $45 billion. It is buried inside of Alphabet, where investors are focused on whether search is about to be displaced by AI, and yet it's already delivering more than 250,000 fully driverless rides per week across multiple cities, and it continues to expand aggressively.
They not like us.
Amazon Zoox, meanwhile, it's worth mentioning, it's still in testing, but it is quietly emerging as another challenger with the backing and the blueprint to catch up. It's even less visible, with no clear indication where it sits within Amazon's financials.
They not like us.
So while Tesla continues to get all of the attention, take a look at this analysis from Morgan Stanley. Waymo currently has the largest autonomous fleet in the country, and it's on track to operate in 5 markets by year end. MS estimates that could grow to 30 cities and nearly 18,000 vehicles by 2030. Now, Zoox isn't there yet, but it is laying the groundwork fast. By the end of the decade, it's expected to be in 16 cities with a fleet size of about 8,400 vehicles. Now, Waymo has a head start, but Zoox has similar production capacity and the balance sheet, of course, from Amazon to match. Compare both to Tesla. There is no fleet size or city count on record, just a pilot program in Austin. Now, the company has vision, but it hasn't yet shown scale. Tesla bulls, they will argue that Musk has built-in scale, and that is key because unlike a Waymo or Zoox, Tesla doesn't even need to build a fleet from scratch. It already has millions of cars on the road with the necessary hardware. The pitch is that Musk can flip a switch and activate full autonomous remotely. But that is only if the software actually works, guys. And this weekend's launch, it suggests that it is still far from that goal. And guys, living in San Francisco, I drove in this morning using the FSD on my Tesla, driving behind a Waymo for a while. Felt like an alternate, this future world. But the Waymo, I will have to say, is getting better at sort of being more aggressive, switching lanes and being faster on the roads, more human-like.
If it's faster you want, Deirdre, you need to go into hurry mode. Like I tell my wife, Go ahead and play with the settings in there. You might be pleasantly surprised.
What did you make of the initial rollout?
Well, it's very exciting to have another big player in the mix. As I'm sure many folks know, Waymo's been active in the market for at least 20 months with commercial service. And so it's a pretty big development to have Tesla now delivering fully autonomous vehicle service.
Might have been a modest rollout. It's not a modest stock move. We're up more than 10%. There's a lot of hopes and prayers based on where this technology takes us. In your mind's eye, Regina, how will we see the rollout in Austin be picked up by other cities? What pressure is it putting on others in terms of their regulatory environment?
Well, San Francisco has been in operation for over 20 months, but Waymo then very quickly began expanding into Los Angeles, Austin, Phoenix, Atlanta with partnerships with Uber, and they have Miami and Washington coming up next year. And it is putting extreme pressure on cities to really catch up and build their digital infrastructure so they can communicate with these vehicles and make sure that these rollouts occur safely, because in the case of Waymo, they've grown very, very quickly in the San Francisco market.
Lots of comparisons to Waymo, even Zoox. But like I've said before, they not like us. And if you think Waymo's progression, fleet size, area of operation, you think that's an example of rapid expansion? You ain't seen nothing yet. Tesla makes the vehicles and the software. Hardware, software, vertically integrated, can scale this up as fast as safety demands. Let's bring in someone that can probably explain it a little better than I can.
Tesla shares ride higher after the EV maker's launch of its Robotaxi service in Austin. Company starting off with 10 to 20 Model Y SUVs running as Robotaxis in a geofenced area of Texas. For more on what this all means for Tesla and the road ahead, let's welcome in here TD Cowen equity analyst Itai Michaeli. Itai, it is good to see you. So over the weekend, Itai, I did see Dan Ives over at Wedbush. Now we know Dan, Tesla bull of bulls, of course. He attended this event. Here's what he said. He even took some rides, Itai, and he gave us the summary. He gave us the after-action report. He said, these robotaxis exceed our expectations and offered a seamless and personalized travel experience that has lit the spark for autonomous driving. Is that how you see it, Itai? Has it lit the spark?
Oh, thank you for having me. Day one does seem like it was successful. There were two aspects of the launch that were better than what we would have expected coming in. The first is where the vehicles actually operated, or the operational design domain, was larger than what we would have expected. And some of the pickup and drop-off activity looked pretty impressive for a first day in a robotaxi operation. It's still premature to draw meaningful big picture conclusions from a single day.
Speak for yourself.
But so far, a pretty impressive launch, and we'll kind of have to monitor it in the weeks and months ahead.
Itai, how quickly and aggressively do you think Musk can expand this service across the country?
I think their strategy of a measured approach is the right one. Safety is paramount. We've seen situations in the past where robotaxi networks had safety issues, and some of them actually shut down as a result of it.
Cruise. Pardon me.
And so we want to first and foremost monitor the safety record, rider, and stakeholder feedback in the weeks and months ahead. Does the operational design domain expand from where they are currently? Does a fleet size expand from here? But going at it slow, particularly given Tesla's lead relative to other car companies in the autonomous vehicle space, does give them some breathing room to move slowly. And so execution around that is key.
Breathing room from other car makers? Nobody else is trying to do this as an auto manufacturer. Needless to say, they not like us.
I think if all goes well, probably in the next few months, investors will be asking what the next city could be. And for us, we're also really watching what ends up happening to the consumer fleet, where there's maybe an overlooked opportunity, frankly, in the Tesla autonomous vehicle story to roll out eyes-off FSD features that could both complement the robotaxi fleet and lead to new services and features for consumers that can drive up not only new revenue streams for Tesla, but also vehicle demand itself.
What? Are you telling me that there's going to be a demand for vehicles that can drive themselves, that come right off the assembly line? Please, tell me more.
In this space, Itai, Musk has plenty of competition. He's got Waymo and Amazon Zoox is in there. And when your clients are asking you what you think his competitive advantages are, what do you tell them?
Sure. Cost is one of them. Speed is another. And the talent they have at Tesla this is a $1.5 trillion mobility market in the U.S. The rideshare industry today is only about $60 billion, so we still have a lot more to go. And we think Tesla's competitive advantage could really allow them to deploy AVs, both robotaxis and consumer AV features, in less dense MSAs, where today the rideshare market is not particularly highly penetrated. And because of Tesla's cost advantage, because of things like shadow mode validation that they can use from their existing fleet, we think they have an opportunity to launch robotaxis in markets that are today less penetrated and complement those with consumer vehicles, and also, of course, lead to new features and services as well. Think of the vehicle getting your deliveries in the middle of the night. Think of dropping you off at the movie theater and picking you up later on. Features that you could charge for, and of course, can create an unprecedented proposition for consumer demand across Tesla's vehicles. And we know, of course, demand has been more challenged in recent quarters. So we look at the AV story as very complementary to the overall EV story and demand story at Tesla. But cost and speed really are key advantages they have today.
Ding, 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 ding. Tell him what he's won, Johnny. Your mother. Right. When I'm doing my FSD videos, I talk about this all the time. There's no way a Waymo is operating where I plan to go on a daily basis. My daily commutes aren't necessarily downtown. For Tesla to be able to penetrate this market, talk about the outskirts, the suburban areas, rural areas, highways, a place where a typical autonomous vehicle with radar and LiDAR just won't dare to go. Tesla already has billions of miles in these regions, operating in shadow mode, getting valuable data that can extend to more than just the area that their pilot is operating now. Pending regulation and any immediate safety concerns that might arise, Tesla's talent, vertical integration, is going to have them prepared to run laps around the perceived competition. No car maker is doing this. And Waymo, Zoox, those are kind of like software companies needing hardware to make this go. This is what sets Tesla apart from everyone else. The legacy media can attempt to downplay this if they want. But if you know, you know.
Was it worth 8%? I mean, there's a guy sitting in the front seat. It was a very limited amount of Austin, Texas. And the only people who got rides were stock devotees and social media influencers.
Jealous much?
I think the answer, Melissa, is yes, it is. And stick with me here, is that if we look at just today's event, it doesn't add up to that 8% move. But we put in the context of what's happened over the past 5 years and 7 years. And as somebody who believes in everything they're building, this comment is going to seem harsh, but this company has largely overpromised and undelivered on these big milestones. And so when the fact that they got it off and, well, it was limited, I think is an encouragement that they are moving towards the right direction. And the other piece about that 8% move is this direction is not a small direction in terms of the impact that it could have to the model. I mean, it could fundamentally change the profit picture. I mean, the vast majority of this company's income could come from autonomous services, whether it's FSD or Robotaxi or Optimus. And so in that context, and we're still at a $1.1 trillion market cap, it still feels like there's room to go if you believe in that vision. And so I see this as an appropriate move to the stock today.
Imagine the transformation that Apple undertook, or even Amazon. Apple used to make desktops, then made iPhones, right? But their main driver is the App Store. The App Store, combined with their general ecosystem trapping consumers, that's what makes Apple one of the most valuable companies on the planet. Amazon used to be a bookstore. Now it's the most prolific online retailer on the planet. But again, that's not what makes them special. It's kind of like AWS. These hidden things that spur from them revolutionizing their own business. Autonomy will be no different. The Robotaxi revenue from rides, that's going to be nice. But that's not where it's going to stop. The hidden value of having robots on every major street corner in America with their compute power, yeah, there may be some hidden value to having that. We won't even get into Optimus, which will be in every major warehouse, and eventually, according to Elon, in every home on the planet. I'm just spitballing here, but there may be some hidden value in these propositions outside of just the surface level revenue streams that seem quite obvious.
At what point do you think that contribution actually starts to happen for this stock? Because if you look at the EV business, it couldn't be worse. It's literally at the worst spot that it's ever been if you go back a decade or so. So to believe that it's worth $1 trillion on its way to 2 or 3, you have to believe in sooner than later that there's going to be a material contribution. And I just can't imagine that the margins for the first couple of years are going to be any good. You have to assume they're going to be losing money on this sort of trade. So I'm just curious, thoughts there.
On the, maybe start with the second piece of that, on the losing money, a different, obviously, setup versus what's going on with Waymo and that 100,000 plus per vehicle. This is an asset-light approach. They're funding the initial vehicles probably for the next year, but most of this is going to be funded. So I think that this business could be profitable probably within a year or two, albeit the revenue is going to be pretty modest to, which gets to the first point of like, when does this actually, we've been waiting and this was a big step forward, but when is it actually going to be impacting the model? It probably isn't for 2030. And to put some context around like what potentially could be the impact by 2030, is that if they're on a path by 2030 to get to 70% share of the ride market, actually in 2030, if they hit like a 30 or 40% share of that market, it's going to basically double their operating income. So this is still way out there. And then how does that jive? If we're still talking 5 years out there, how does that jive with my feeling that this is a justified move? And I think the answer is that, yes, it's 5 years out there, but it's an undeniable truth is that this market is going to be fundamentally changed. And it's a big market, $90 billion a year in the US alone. And it's really going to come down to Waymo and Tesla, and Uber and Lyft are largely going to be irrelevant in that future. And so I think that's the piece, that nugget, that carrot that's out there still is not going to go away, despite what I agree is going to be this is going to be an ugly year on their car business.
In conclusion, financial analysts, the media, they're all going to have a little trouble digesting what just happened. With Tesla's display of real-world artificial intelligence on Austin streets, it'll be hard to fall back on that steady trope that Tesla is just a car company. With that being said, Tesla has proven that they can now use a vehicle with cameras and neural nets to drive around on city streets. These are the same Model Ys that you could purchase today, and quite frankly, I would get on that if you don't have your own personal robot chauffeur. As more and more individuals become aware of what Tesla can do for you in your own personal autonomy, let's just say the fundamentals of the car business, that's going to rectify itself in short order. If it doesn't take you all day to recognize sunshine and you would like one of these vehicles, feel free to use the referral link in the pinned comment below and you can thank me later. That's all I've got for you today. Be easy. Peace.